Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup, Stage 1, Week 2 results. Okay, so please bear with me, I am slightly ill, and this is going to be a difficult video for me to do, but we're going to do it nonetheless, because nothing stops the Roundup from coming out. Anyway, first up, we had the Washington Justice taking on the London Spitfire, and London had a bad week 1. I think that's fair to say that. And Washington, although they had a bad week 1, they weren't atrocious, and we were expecting them to be atrocious, so promising for Justice. But this is an interesting match, because on map 1, London look awful. And I mean they look awful. But on map 2, they switch something up. They put guard on Brigitte, they take murdering out the lineup, and they put profit on Zarya. This is where London look a lot better. And then they do lose the map on Numbani, which gave Washington Justice a 2-0 lead at half time, which was extraordinary. But London come back with a reverse sweep and beat the Justice 3-2, which is crucial for London if they want to stand any chances of reaching the stage finals. But very promising for the London Spitfire, because they're now playing profit on Zarya and guard on Brigitte, and they look much better. Burning just wasn't cutting it on that Zarya. So, promising for the Spitfire. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Florida Mayhem. And Florida had not really impressed coming into this, whereas the Fusion had looked very good. Kind of what you'd expect from Fusion, right? Anyway, Fusion looked very dominant on the very early part of the pool. But then Carpe overextends, Carpe playing the McCree at this point, which was nice to see. And Florida just take that and take the momentum and end up taking the ball. Philadelphia hit back with a win on Numbani and then a draw on Anubis. But Florida end up winning Route 66, which gives them the match. Quite an upset, Florida beating Philadelphia, but interesting thing from Florida is they're learning. They look at their opponents, they say this is their weakness, and they start to adapt. And this is what, I mean, I'm not saying they're anywhere near on the scale of this, but this is what the NYXL do. And the NYXL are very good at it. That's what gets the NYXL where they are. So, disappointing loss for the Fusion, and takes that takes a hit to their plans, because really they would have expected that to be a win. Next up, we have the Guangzhou Charge taking on the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel showed us two different sides last week. Guangzhou looked very aggressive in their game the week before, and they continue this. Guangzhou look like they're going to be one of the most aggressive teams in the league, and they 4-0 Dallas. Dallas are a very reactionary team at the moment. They like to do things on their terms, and when Guangzhou just ran at them, they were like, ha, don't know what to do, and just flopped. So 4-0 to the Guangzhou Charge there. Good result for them. And then we have the Seoul Dynasty taking on the Chengdu Hunters. This is another 4-0 for Seoul. Seoul, again, feeling their way into things after a disappointing year last year. But I expect nothing less of Seoul to 4-0 Chengdu here. Chengdu, they are promising though. Not as bad as I thought they'd be at the start of the season. So next up we have a fan favourite, the Atlanta Reign, taking on the Toronto Defiant. Atlanta, very good start to the season. Defiant looking very good. Toronto, also a decent start with 1-1 on the board. So this was kind of a teller where these teams are going to be about in this stage. Toronto do very well on Busan, and they simply win Busan with just a better GOATS play, which on a lot of maps will make the difference at the moment. But Atlanta bite back on Numbani and end up winning the series 3-1. Again, Defran looking decent on that Zarya. I know we want to see him on the Torb, I know we want to see him on the Tracer, but that Zarya is looking decent for Defran. And very promising for Atlanta Reign. Toronto though, still very promising for them. And they had Los Angeles Valiant later on, which we'll go over in a minute. So next up, we have the NYXL taking on the Valiant. Now, the Valiant came into this on the back of a loss last week. And Valiant, it's been close for them in all of their games, including the games this week, you know. But they lose 3-2 to the Excelsior. Excelsior look good. They look like they're settling down into the meta, and even more so in the later game. Excelsior are kind of adapting, as they always do. Guess what? They're at the top of the leaderboard. What a surprise that is. Valiant, not too much to be worried about in that match. They did put up a very good showing against the much fancier YXL, let's be honest. So, this is the one you've all been waiting for. Shanghai Dragons taking on the Boston Uprising. Color Hex returns for the Boston Uprising after being suspended, but they lose Fusions and bring in Axiom on main tank. Now, we'd seen how good Fusions had been for Boston, and we were very puzzled why Fusions didn't play here. But the reason for it is there was a clause in stage 1 of the Overwatch League. If a player with a two-way contract had played in Contender Season 3 of 2018, they could only play 2 games in stage 1 of Overwatch League. And Fusions had played those 2 games last week. So, Fusions was ineligible. It wasn't made very clear by the Overwatch League, and they've apologised for it. And I believe Boston are in the midst of trying to get Fusions a permanent Overwatch League contract, so I think that's well deserved. Fusions has been fantastic for Boston. But moving on to this match, Axiom did not look nowhere near as good as Fusions was. Shanghai, however, they win Ilios, then they roll out Ding, or Didding as I like to say, on the Sombra, and they win King's Row. Shanghai on match point for the first time ever. They've never gone up 2-0. Horizon Lunar Colony goes to 3 stages of attack. But Shanghai Dragons pull out the win for the first time in the Overwatch League. In 42 games, the 43rd is where the run ends for the Shanghai Dragons. They beat the Boston Uprising 3-1 because Boston do win on Rialto. What a massive day for the Shanghai Dragons. I mean, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. I'm probably going to analyse it, to be quite honest, because what else? What else? You've got to analyse the Shanghai Dragons' first win, haven't you? But there were tears. There were tears in the arena. I'm sure there was tears at home for some people, and an overwhelming sense of relief. And it was lovely for Gaguri as well, who was also in tears. Fantastic for the Shanghai Dragons. A very big congratulations on their first win in the Overwatch League, and hopefully a platform for Shanghai to spring off of. But I really don't think Boston would have lost that if they had a Fusions. It was just their tank play was below par all game. Right, let's start rattling through them, shall we? Next up we had the Houston Outlaws taking on the Hangzhou Spark. Hangzhou had a very good week last week. Houston had an absolutely awful week last week. Houston bounced back though. Hangzhou did not look good on this map whatsoever. There was some really, really weird rotations on Anubis, if I remember rightly. That Anubis game was bizarre. You had supports in Houston spawn because of rotations. Hangzhou did not look good on Anubis at all. Houston Outlaws take that one 3-1 and get off the board for the season. Hangzhou with work to do. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Gladiators taking on the Paris Eternal. Paris Eternal looking very good in this GOATS meta right now, as you'd expect for a European team. Los Angeles Gladiators narrowly won over the San Francisco Shurk last week, which is a very good win for them. Gladiators you would expect to be up there, but at the moment, Paris are just a tiny bit better, beating the Gladiators 2-1, but I think that might change in coming metas. To be quite honest, I think Paris are quite heavily reliant on GOATS right now, and I think that might show in the future. Next up we have the Philadelphia Fusion taking on the Dallas Fuel. Dallas? Bad loss to the Guangzhou Charge earlier in the week. Philadelphia Fusion also with a disappointing loss to the Florida Mayhem just before that game. So two teams with a lot to prove, but there was a lot of spicy words being put out by Jane, the coach for the Dallas Fuel, and Carpe, obviously DPS for Fusion. And who was going to come out on top here? Well, it turns out the better Goats team comes out on top, which just happens to be the Dallas Fuel. Dallas Fuel win this 3-1 in a very big victory for the Dallas Fuel, and that puts them right back up there in contention for a stage playoff place. Next up, we have the Vancouver Titans taking on the aggressive Guangzhou Charge, who just got their 4-0 over Dallas, and Vancouver obviously looking very, very good. But this is by no means an easy game for Vancouver. It goes to 5 maps, just because Guangzhou, they have good mechanics, but they are so aggressive, sometimes teams just don't know what to do with them. But Vancouver do win it out in the end of 3-2, but there goes Bumper's prophecy of 4-0ing everyone in the league. Said that too soon, didn't you, my friend? Next up, we have the Chengdu Hunters taking on the Florida Mayhem. Two teams needing to bounce back well, no, not two teams, but Chengdu needed to bounce back off the bad loss to Seoul. Florida with momentum for the Fusion game. Chengdu do bring a very chaotic style of Overwatch though, currently. And that tends to win out at the moment. They do beat the Florida Mayhem 3-2, very similar to the game against Guangzhou last week. Next up, we have the Hangzhou Spark back in action against the reigning champions London Spitfire. Now, Spitfire bounced back well against the Washington Justice after going 2-0 down, and looked like they'd found the answer to their issues by putting Profit on Zarya and Guard on Brigitte and taking Birdwing out the lineup. And that proves and pays dividends once again. They beat the Hangzhou Spark 3-1. Hangzhou do look better than they did against Houston. Not good enough to beat a Spitfire that look rejuvenated with this slightly altered lineup. Next up, we have the NYXL in action again against Houston Outlaws. Houston Outlaws coming off the back of getting their first win against Hangzhou Spark in the season. But this is NYXL, right? This is 4-0 to NYXL, and NYXL looked frighteningly good. It was crazy, to be quite honest with you. No arguments. NYXL look like one of the best teams in the league right now. But are they the best team? That's still to be proven because they haven't quite played the biggest teams in the league right now. I can't wait to see Excelsior play Vancouver. I can't wait to see Excelsior play Seoul, which does come up near the end of the stage. Next up, we have the Toronto Defiant taking on the Los Angeles Valiant. Valiant. Oh, Valiant. It's been very close all season to getting that first win on the board. Toronto have looked decent, but they were coming on the back of the loss to Atlanta Reign. I think a lot of people have backed Valiant to win this one. They don't know. They lose it narrowly once again, 2-1 to Toronto. That puts Valiant on a 0-3 record. Remember, Valiant won Stage 4 last year in a not so dissimilar meta. So, there's a lot of things for Valiant to work out right now. But, boy, 0-3? I'm not sure you're going to make it into the stage playoffs with that sort of record. And the last game of the week was possibly the best game of the week. I think actually without a doubt it was the best game of the week in terms of just crazy team fights. We have the Vancouver Titans taking on the San Francisco Shock. Vancouver looking very good coming into this San Francisco Shock. Results haven't all gone their way, but still looking very good and very much fancied for this season. There are some crazy fights in this game. I mean, crazy overtime pushes on King's Row. Crazy bomb combos from Janu on the Vancouver Titans. I believe Vancouver got a 4K to seal out the deal against Guangzhou. And they also do it against San Francisco with Diva Bombs. The synergy on this roster is really paying dividends for Vancouver. And they do see the win 3-1 against San Francisco. Not too worried about SF Shock though. Shock did get beaten here, but it's very promising. They were up against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the league, especially on Goats. Shock, it's just been a difficult early start, but I fully believe going in further down the line into the season that you will improve and you will do very well this season. I still expect you to see you in the playoffs. So those are your results for week 2 of stage 1. Some interesting ones in there, and a bounce back for London Spitfire that was very much needed. Vancouver still looking very good along with NYXL. Paris also looking very good. Atlanta looking very good. But let's look at our standings, shall we? Now we've got a bit more of an idea where people are kind of nestling right now. So from bottom to top, because why not, we have the Valiant propping up the table with a 0-3 record, and that is very surprising. I don't think anyone else can say much different to that. Very surprising from the Valiant. I expect them to rally at some point. It's just when we might see that, I don't know. In 19th we have the Houston Outlaws. Poor start to the season for them, but meta really doesn't favour them right now. When you see Houston go on to DPS, a lot of stuff changes. Washington in 18th, no surprises there. Shanghai with a win on the board. Down in joint 16th with the Florida Mayhem. Again, I think Shanghai might rally a bit and find themselves a bit higher than that come the end of the stage. Los Angeles Gladiators in 14th. Again, it's been a difficult start for them, but I'd expect Gladiators to make headway in the next couple of weeks. Boston in 14th. Again, this is kind of where I expected them to be. But when Fusions comes in at some point, if he does get his Overwatch League contract, then I think we see Boston climb quite rapidly. San Francisco in 13th is, you may say, a surprise, but it's been difficult for SF Shock playing both the Gladiators and Vancouver, which is both of their losses right now. They were close games, even though the Vancouver may not have looked like it. Shock wouldn't be too worried right now. Guangzhou Charge in 12th. Guangzhou looking better than expected, and that really aggressive style will catch a lot of teams out, but also some of them will capitalise on it quite badly. So Guangzhou have to rein that in slightly. Dallas in 11th. Again, this is about where I expected Dallas to be. Very often depends on what Dallas we see in the match. As ever. Hangzhou Spark in 10th. Again, a bit lower than they were, but Hangzhou have had a bad week, and they need to bounce back from this week, in the next week, and get another win on the board. London are up to 9th. I think they started the week off in something like 16th, but 2 wins has got them right into stage playoff contention. They're on the same win-loss ratio as Philadelphia. Philadelphia have just lost 1 less map. London, it's looking promising. They're sorting their kinks out gradually. Philadelphia have had a bad week. They are still up in 8th, so they're still in the stage playoffs. Chengdu are in 7th. I don't think a lot of people would have expected that. If Chengdu can get in the stage playoffs, that will be massive for Chengdu. That would be very pleasing to see an all-Chinese roster doing very well. In 6th, we have the Toronto Defiant. Again, perhaps a bit surprising here. I don't know. Toronto were a bit of a boom or bust team. They were either going to do very well or they were going to do very poorly. I didn't think they were going to be in that. I think they're still going to be in that pack of 7th to 12th come the end of the season, but promising times for Toronto. Then in the top 5, we have in 5th Seoul Dynasty. Seoul, this is where I expected them to be. Seoul gradually improving with the introduction of Fisher and some others, and starting to look a bit more like the Seoul we expected last season. In 4th, we have the Atlanta Reign. Again, very promising for the Atlanta Reign. A bit higher than I expected to see them right now. I didn't expect DeFran Zara to be quite as good as it is. So very promising for the Atlanta Reign. The top 3, Paris Eternal, currently haven't lost a game in 3rd, but they've played 1 less game than Vancouver and 2 less games than Excelsior. Those will be made up later in the stage. Paris, I'd have to expect them to be in the stage playoffs right now. They're looking very good on that 3-3 comp. In the 2nd, we have Vancouver with a 3-0 record. Again, very good on GOATs on 3-3. So Vancouver are expected to be in the stage playoffs, and to be quite honest, if Excelsior don't make the stage playoffs in 1st place with a 4-0 record, then I'll just hang up my hat. I'll stop doing the roundup, because if Excelsior really don't get into those playoffs, that'd be ridiculous. So, looking promising for a few teams, especially like Chengdu, Toronto, bounce back from London as well. Another bounce back from Dallas as well. Looking promising for some teams. Some teams need just some favourable fixtures to get back up there. But that's going to be it for this roundup. I'm still very ill and I apologise for that. Hopefully this will be sorted by next week. I don't know whether it will be sorted by the analysis, and I don't know whether it will be sorted by the fixtures video. I hope so though. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then!